Hi, everyone. Please get your headphones on. My name is Hans Yang. I'm the VP of Microsoft for Startups. I have the good fortune of sitting at the intersection between two parties. On one side, I'm working with large-scale, AI-curious enterprises that are looking to unlock enterprise value with AI. On the other side, I'm working with startups that are pushing the boundaries using cutting-edge technology to basically push the boundaries of what's possible. So today, our session is all about how do we bring those two parties together to unlock the value that everyone's been seeking from AI. So I'm going to start off by sharing what I've been seeing in my seat. And I'd call this the innovation paradox. Second, we're going to talk about breakthrough startups, startups that are truly helping enterprises unlock that value. We're going to give you some examples from our program. And then third, we're going to tell a story. And what I love about this story is it's going to be told from two different parties. The first party is Amee, one of our favorite startups. They are a cutting-edge startup, like I mentioned, using multi-agentic technology to truly unlock an autonomous employee. But on the other side of the story is one of the most forward-thinking business executives I've come across from Hitachi. She's the chief HR officer, and she was willing to take the leap with Amee and go on this journey together to, again, solve this puzzle. So, first thing, to get things kicked off, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. If you think that your enterprise is doing AI, they're investing in AI, they're spending money, they're buying seat licenses, they're asking you to innovate as an employee, experiment, proof of concept, raise your hand. OK, before you put your hand down, next I'm going to ask you, who of the people holding their hand is seeing demonstrable, measurable, positive ROI from that investment right now, today? All right, I saw a lot of dropping hands. Maybe your hand was just tired. But my guess is you're stuck in what we call the innovation paradox. Corporations have all this enterprise value. They have all these revenue streams. They have employees, complex workflows. They're essentially the companies that are most ripe for innovation. They stand to benefit the most from AI innovation. But the problem is they're not seeing that value yet. And so for companies stuck in the innovation paradox, you're not alone. You can see from these statistics that $40 billion has been spent on Gen AI this year. And of that, only 8% of companies are saying they're seeing positive ROI. A lot of hand droppers. And so it makes sense that 2/3 of companies are not scaling to production. They're still stuck in that demo mode where they're piloting and they're trying, but they haven't scaled things to production yet. And so what's causing that? Well, I'd argue that it's complex, and I'm sure all of you are running into this. It's hard to roll out something that's going to work across your full business. But good news, the future's coming. Agents are here. And agents are no longer just thinking. They're no longer just reasoning. What's important is now they're starting to act. And so they're making choices on their own. They are engaging with your employees. They are solving for complex workflows that they couldn't solve for before. So extremely powerful. But to make this work, to make agents actually effective, they need all of these things. So on the bottom, what you're seeing is the infrastructure part. An agent needs to be able to tap into one of the 11,000 models that Microsoft offers in its catalog. It needs to have knowledge. It needs to know who are your employees, who are your customers, what is your data, what are your systems, all of the things to actually work within the context of your business. And of course, we're Microsoft, we're about trust and security. So how do these agents work within a secure and compliant environment that meets all of your stringent guidelines? On the other side of this, you have the interface. If you want to have all these agentic solutions, you don't want a different interface for every agent. Your end users, your employees, they don't want to go to a different place every time they switch what agent they're working with. They shouldn't see that. That should be transparent. So again, from a Microsoft lens, we have Copilot with over 420 million users. So the good news is your users are already there. So we can feed, and you can feed, these agentic experiences into the right interfaces. So what's left for you? Well, your job is to bring the agents. And the good news here is that agents are easier to build than ever before. If you're a business user, you're using Copilot Studio, and you're doing simple things like, OK, make my calendaring process a little bit easier. That's great. Copilot Studio, build your own agent. If you're a code-first developer, you're a professional, then yes, you can go and build these large-scale enterprise-sized things. And again, build your own agents. That's great. Microsoft has their own. I personally love Copilot Researcher. I use it every day to check on the latest status of AI startups and AI technology. But beyond that, there are third parties. There's Blue Yonder. There's SAP, all the different ISVs that provide agents. So agents, agents, agents. You got it. There are a lot of agents out there. The problem with these agents is that they're built for general purpose. And inside of your corporation, you have specialized use cases. You are from a specific industry that has its own set of rules. You have your own compliance guidelines that are unique to you. And these agents, no matter how much they're tuned, cannot solve for that. But what we're seeing is that enterprises are actually going to startups. And so enterprises like Hitachi have found that they can find those specialized solutions. And here's why startups can make it work. So I work at Microsoft. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. And as you can imagine, we have process. We have scale. And so your corporation has to think about these things. You can't just go and build whatever you want and move fast and break things. It doesn't work in a corporation where you have enterprise value at risk. And startups don't have that baggage. Secondly, startups aren't trying to solve every problem in the world. They're looking for their first, their second, their third customer. So they can have a specialized solution that solves exactly what your need is. They don't have to solve for 1,000 customers or 1,000,000 customers at a time. And that focus is what allows them to move faster and actually get to business value much faster. I'll give you an example. Last night I was at a dinner at an event. I was talking to the CIO of a bank, and he told me when they are investigating an opportunity around a new agent, they have a use case that they're excited about. When they have an idea, the first thing they do before they build a single thing is they pass it through a risk assessment. They haven't gotten to the valuable part. They haven't gotten to the economics. They haven't gotten to the feasibility. They start with risk. And so they went through this. They jumped through hoops. They spent 18 months trying to build this specialized agent for their needs. And at the end of it, what they ended up with was a demo that they could not take to scale. They could not push that to production. So frustrated, the CIO then went and sourced a startup. And that startup had 80% of the solution available off the shelf. And to get from that 80% off the shelf to the remaining 20% to customize, it took 2 months. So you went from an 18-month, didn't even get to production process, to 2 months to actually solving the problem. That's what startups can do. But what's the challenge? This is what the landscape looks like. This is November 2025. And honestly, this is just a small snapshot of what you as an enterprise need to choose amongst. Each one of these tiny little dots that you probably can't read is another logo that has many agents, that has empty promises behind it. But it's very noisy out there. And in the keynote, I think I heard the stat, it was 1.3 billion agents are going to be out there by 2028. So how are you going to choose? How are you going to know which of those startups you can trust with your data that you want to let into your walled garden? How do you know which of those startups is going to be here in 5 years? Unfortunately, from a startup's perspective, you can't even look at valuations anymore because VCs have been spraying so much cash that even bad startups have raised a lot of money. So it's extremely hard to find. This is actually where Microsoft can come in. So again, I mentioned I'm from the Microsoft for Startups program. And we have a program where we are scanning hundreds of thousands of startups, and we are doing this vetting for you. And we're making sure that as these startups are growing, we see how they're built, we see who they're working with, we vet them ourselves, and we give them the seal of approval because we know that they're enterprise ready. And so we do that vetting so that you don't have to. And what we're seeing is that enterprises are actually buying these solutions, and they're the first ones to break through. So going back to this agentic AI stack again, of course you want to build your own agents. Of course you want to buy some off the shelf. Maybe you want to buy a company, but I would encourage you also to start looking at the startup solutions too. Because out there is a huge world of startups who are doing your R&D for you. They are uncovering those specialized use cases that you need, and they have that solution that's ready for you. So the core message as we kick off, I really think it's no longer a build or a buy. Now there's an assemble. Go and assemble all these startup solutions. Innovation is now a team sport. You combine Microsoft, you combine enterprises, and you combine these startups, and that's the winning formula for a winning team. So now I'm going to hand it off to Heena. She's our director of AI and data startups. She's going to show you some examples of the startups that we work with every day.
Thanks, Hans. So we have enterprises that want to innovate fast. We have startups that are building the right solution for them. But as Hans mentioned, we at Microsoft saw a lot of gaps between the enterprise and startup collaboration. And that is why we launched the Microsoft for Startups Pegasus program. And the idea behind Pegasus is simple. We scout and find the best startups in the world that are solving the most pressing problems our enterprises are facing today. And as Hans mentioned, we vet them for enterprise readiness. And this simply means that we do a lot of the homework so you don't have to. Let's break down what enterprise readiness means. First, we make sure that they're deployed in real enterprise environments. I'm not talking POCs or pilots, real production value being delivered at scale. Next, we look at things like security and compliance. Everything from cloud security to data posture, the certifications they have. The interoperability that Hans mentioned is extremely important because we do not want to give your end users a new tool. We make sure that their solutions that, by the way, are already built on Azure can deploy seamlessly into your existing environments, not adding extra tech debt for you. And we're extremely selective about who we bring into Pegasus. We review thousands, and a small fraction actually make the cut. And those that do get additional support from us. For instance, we help them get onto Azure Marketplace. So that way, the process of procurement and deployment for you is much more simpler. And the AI landscape is constantly evolving. So we're constantly scouting and adding on new startups in the Pegasus portfolio. So that way, at any point, you always have the best of breed options. These are just some of the many enterprises that we've worked with across healthcare, life sciences, retail, financial services, even governments. We've helped each of the enterprises that you see here connect with the top startups to help solve the problems that they were facing and help them innovate faster. And the end result is that each of these companies could try faster, validate value faster, and scale faster within their organizations. Now let's make this real. Hans walked us through the biggest challenge today, which is scaling AI to production. I'll give you 3 examples of Pegasus startups that are helping address this problem. The first and most universal problem right now is ROI. AI executives can talk on and on about their AI strategy. But if you ask them the question, what's your total AI spend right now and what returns are you seeing on it? The room goes silent. Because that's a really hard question. Let's start with cost data. Cost data is fragmented. We have finance teams that see cloud builds but don't have business context. We have engineering teams and AI ML teams that see consumption and usage data, but they don't see business outcomes or KPIs. And that pilot that you're going through with your company right now, where you have 100-something users testing it, that might look cheap now, but the costs could easily scale to millions of dollars when you're talking about scaling it to 10,000 or 100,000 users. PayEye solves that problem. It's a Gen AI native FinOps platform that tracks your costs across the board. I'm talking from every token to across every prompt to every API call in your AI stack. It brings all those together and also automatically links it to business outcomes. And then that helps you move from vanity metrics to outcome metrics. One of their customers is a global asset management firm that had a double-digit number of AI initiatives ongoing across different business units. And within 6 weeks of deploying PayEye, their CIO and CFO now had a dashboard where for each of those AI initiatives, they could see clear cost to outcome metrics. And their CIO and CFO could now make decisions about which AI projects and initiatives to scale and which ones should I stop based on hard data, not hype and optimism or vanity metrics. And that is how you scale AI, with discipline. The next big challenge is risks. Especially with Gen AI and now agents, the risk landscape is constantly changing. We've got everything from hallucinations to data leakage to even changing regulatory environments. And with Microsoft Foundry Guardrails, we give you the best-in-class platform for you to customize your own guardrails to filter unwanted content. Dynamo AI is a startup that builds on that foundation and takes that one step further. The best AI teams I know are operationalizing AI like a team sport. Dynamo works with some of the most regulated customers, everyone from Experian to Intel, and these are organizations where no AI project can make it to production until you have sign-offs from risk, compliance, legal, security. And what Dynamo allows you to do is have all of these teams get involved in the AI process. It allows all these users, many are non-technical, to customize their own guardrails in natural language. So for instance, if you're working and building an agent at a bank and it's for customers, you want to make sure that agent doesn't give out investment advice or tax recommendations. Using Dynamo's platforms, you can now add those guardrails yourself and test it without spending additional engineering cycles. One of their customers is a leading insurance company, and their insurance company had their policy team get in and use Dynamo's platform to add in their policies. And the result, within the first month of doing a small rollout, was that their policy teams could see firsthand how more than 150 potentially policy-violating outputs were being blocked by Dynamo's guardrails. And that way, their teams now had the reassurance that this solution could be scaled and rolled out across customers. And that is how you scale AI, making sure you have a layer of operational safety and trust on your AI solutions. The third pain point I hear over and over again: there's too much experimentation and not enough governance. And there's so many AI initiatives running across the company. I continue to hear from CIOs that they do not know confidently that they have awareness and visibility on each and every AI initiative running across the company. And that's where Cranium comes in. They begin with discovery, where they look at things like your network data, even code repositories or usage data, and create a log of all the AI projects in the company. And this includes AI agents that you may not know existed in your company to begin with. When a leading financial services company did this, they learned that there were many third-party models that their AI teams were using that they didn't even approve. And Cranium helped them identify additional vulnerabilities within their AI ML stack. And once they created this visibility, Cranium then adds a layer of governance around it, making sure that they started off with creating this bill of materials, which is a catalog of all the AI ML projects running across the company, tracking for each of them, who's the owner, what data is going in it, what's a risk profile, and so on. This way, they now had both visibility, and then this data was then used to infuse governance and even check for compliance on top of that. And Cranium then just gives AI leaders a layer of security and governance for the enterprise. We are no longer in this era where we're experimenting with AI. Now and through 2026, there's an increased focus on scaling AI to production and proving real value. And these three startups tackle some of the biggest problems in scaling AI today. They bring ROI clarity, they bring operational safety and trust, and they also add security and governance as a layer on top of all of this. And these startups, just like every other Pegasus startup, is solving that layer and that problem better than anyone else out there. And that is why leading enterprises are choosing to partner with them. And that is why leading enterprises are choosing to work with Pegasus. So I can go on and on for hours talking about startup stories, but I want you to hear firsthand from one of our Pegasus founders and hear his side. So I'd like to invite Surojit Chatterjee, the CEO and co-founder of Amee, which is one of our star Pegasus startups in the agentic AI space. So take it over.
Thank you so much, Heena. Hi, I'm Surojit Chatterjee. I'm CEO and founder of Amee, Enterprise Mission Assistant. That's the name of our company. Before founding this company, I spent more than a decade at Google, building one of the largest businesses Google ever built, Google mobile ads, over $100 billion of revenue per year. And then I went to Coinbase and helped Coinbase do a gigantic IPO in 2021, $100 billion plus IPO. And in 2023, I was really thinking, what should I do next? I stepped out of Coinbase, and I had a little bit of existential crisis. And that's when it hit me. In every job I did, everywhere, we had really great people, highly talented people, but what ends up happening is 50%, sometimes 60, 70% of the time is spent in KTLO, keeping the lights on. That's the term we used to use at Google. People doing repetitive tasks, soul-crushing tasks, day in and day out, not adding value. Could we solve that problem? So this was the beginning, this was the origin story of Amee. Our vision was to build what I call AI employees. This is a leap forward from what you see today with single monolithic agents. Of course, if you have done this journey of automation in the enterprise, you may remember RPAs, you may have nightmares maybe about RPAs. They're brittle, fragile. They did their job in early days, but they just cannot adapt. Very fixed, if then else logic. AI agents that you hear a lot about are kind of point solutions. They can do one single thing at a time, maybe do well. The next leap is AI employees, which is multi-agent applications. Can you automate large parts of your enterprise with multiple agents working with each other, hand in hand, just like humans would do? Can you make AI work just like humans? That's the question we asked 2 years back. And today we are going to show you where we are and how some of the largest enterprises in the world are using us in production to see enormous value. Let me play this video real quick, and I hope the video guards.
Enterprise automation has been the domain of experts and large teams for too long. Complex, slow, rigid. What if you could build AI employees that automate complex workflows as easily as writing a job description? With Amee's AI Employee Builder, you can create intelligent, agentic AI employees in seconds. Need to rank and filter from a large number of resumes? Just describe your problem, and Amee will create an AI employee that automates the entire workflow agentically. From gathering resumes across sources, researching candidate quality beyond simple keywords, to providing your best fit recommendations, even firing off the interview pipeline with your input. Or you can create customer support agents that resolve issues 24/7, scaling as your business grows without adding headcount. Step in for escalations and exceptions only so that AI can help you scale while remaining trusted and accurate with human judgment. From HR to finance, IT to customer support, the world's best enterprises are using Amee to build their AI workforce now. You too can build your own AI employees, or choose from our library of pre-built ones across functions. The choice is yours. Amee is the most advanced, enterprise-grade agentic AI platform, seamlessly interoperable with hundreds of tools, compliant with leading international standards, and built to the highest levels of security and privacy. Build the future of work now.
So what we built is, as you saw, one of the most advanced agentic AI platform today. For the last 2 years, we have been at the luminaries bracket in the Everest Group report for agentic AI. The company is 2.5 years old, so we could not be there for 3 years. And the whole industry is 2 years old. Our customer set, and you will meet one of our customers today, Hitachi. We work with some of the largest enterprises in the world, and that's the point. can you create an enterprise automation with a single conversation that can actually be deployed at massive scale, that can handle the complexity and nuances of global conglomerates? That's what we have been able to achieve, and it's kind of a best-kept secret. But we could not have done any of this without the support of the great Microsoft for Startups team. From the very beginning, we have been partner with Pegasus program. All those free credits really helped us build. We built in Azure native. You can deploy us on your cloud, fully air-gapped. You can also deploy us on our Azure cloud in SaaS configuration. We are embedded within Microsoft Teams. Your employees or anybody can access us within just using Microsoft Teams. And of course, you can buy us through your Microsoft Marketplace and retire your Microsoft credits by buying Amee. So all of that and enterprise compliance. This is fundamental for any tool in enterprise. I can confidently say we are probably the most compliant and secure agentic AI startup today. You can see the logos. I just couldn't fit more logos. Everything from SOC 2, GDPR, ISO 42001, NIST framework, UI Act, any compliance standard that comes up anywhere in the world, we are probably the first startup to go and get that for us, certified for us. So why do enterprises work with us? First, highest accuracy. All of our agents work with Amee Fusion. This is our own proprietary model. It's a model of models that actually sits on top of every model out there, from GPT-5, Claude, Gemini, and everything out there, every SLM, 100+ models, and it intelligently combines those models parameters and gives you highest accuracy at the lowest possible cost. We have published research papers at the top AI conferences proving this against many, many benchmarks. Fastest time to value. We are going to hear from Amee in a few minutes. As Hans was saying, most of our AI employees are already pre-built, 80% built, sometimes 90% built. All you have to do is connect it to your applications, your data sets, and it starts working. If not, you can build something new even extremely fast. And that's the time to value. That's of essence today. And then automating end-to-end workflows. We have already pre-integrated with hundreds of applications out there. This is a very hard thing to do, particularly thinking about permissions and security and everything. 5,000+ pre-built actions already embedded. With Microsoft and Amee together, you can unlock productivity across every function, from lead to cash, your sales and marketing automation, query to resolution, code to procure to pay, hire to retire, and many other functions. Today, we're going to deep dive a little bit into hire to retire process, the entire HR workflow, from hiring an employee, sourcing an employee, onboarding the employee, helping the employee through their training material, helping them with any task across the enterprise, benefits management, all the way to offboarding. We have tens of AI employees ready to go, ready to join your workforce and collaborate with your human employees. To tell us more, here is Amee Desjourdy. She's Chief Human Resources Officer at Connective Industries in Hitachi. I always get that wrong. She runs a massive number of people, workforce, and she's going to talk about how she used Amee to automate her processes. Thank you, Amee.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am actually really, really excited to stand here and actually share this story because it is a journey I'm really proud of. So I'm going to start with context, just to sort of give you the lay of the land a little bit. So Hitachi Limited is actually almost 300,000 employees globally. It's split up amongst 4 sectors within the business, so energy, mobility, connective industries, and digital. And those employees and those businesses are divided into over 600 individual group companies, so incredibly complex organization. And we were asked to start to centralize certain functional areas And so we had to consolidate 3 different businesses into one shared services model for all the functional orgs, finance, HR, procurement, et cetera, within the Hitachi digital business. And so that meant that the HR organization was going to be responsible for now almost 50,000 employees divided within 3 distinct companies. They had over 20 different operating or HR sort of platform systems, tools, technology, so incredibly complex for one HR organization to manage. And so we decided that aside from starting the journey to implement Workday, a single instance of Workday, so that our HR operations team could just be working within one integrated system, which was ultimately going to take 18 months. Too long. The team was really grinding, honestly. And so we thought we might be able to use AI, whatever that meant, we didn't really know at the time, to help support all of that work. And so we started out by identifying, it was actually initially hundreds of use cases across the full body of work that exists within HR, hire to retire. And ultimately, we landed on query management, where we thought we could make the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time, both with efficiency as well as sort of effectiveness in terms of sort of employee experience and answering the 100,000 or so questions coming into that help desk on an annual basis. And so, again, there's AI, there's Gen AI. We were using using a chatbot at the time and decided agentic AI was probably a much better way to go. It would allow us to really personalize the experience our employees were having when they were interacting with this digital agent that was now going to become part of our HR operations organization. We needed to deal with all the complexity I already referred to, multiple systems, all kinds of data sources, different policies that existed within the 3 different companies. And we really needed it to work independently. Otherwise, it wasn't really going to be all that helpful. And so as we set out to decide, we knew we had a few options. We could build it, which was going to ultimately take way too much time. We could buy it, which was cost prohibitive, and really still would have needed the expertise required to manage this forward. Or we could land where Hans referred to as assemble it, which was ultimately where we found Amee, and really determined it was the absolute best option for us in terms of getting quickly to realize value. Some challenges, and again, Amee was absolutely instrumental in helping us navigate this. We had multiple stakeholders, IT organizations, different business leaders, different HR business leaders within each of the organizations. People were nervous. They don't really understand what this looks like. And when you're dealing with employee data, there is a lot of sensitivity around not just the typical security issues, but also privacy issues. And change management, again, navigating all of this. And the Amee team were so willing to just come to the table with us, answer questions, teach, more than anything else, teach the teams about what this looks like and how it works. And it ultimately allowed us to get through the barriers that we had in front of us. So the outcome, we actually went from signature on page to deployment in 8 weeks, which was a very, very aggressive timeline. But in hindsight, and I don't think I understood it at the time, I don't think we would have been as successful if we didn't put such aggressive time constraints on this project. We really had to push where typically we would not have. I think holding the line was really an important reason why we are where we are today. And the good news, and again, I want to say this is still a journey, right? It's ongoing and it will be ongoing forever, I think. But the reality is now Sky, which is the name we gave our digital agent in HR operations, Sky is able to handle all incoming over 90,000 questions we get a year, handling and closing out all the tier 1 and tier 2 questions that come into the help desk, which means that it's improved our efficiency by 70%. And it does all this with over 95% accuracy. And I will just say to you that 5% is actually more attributed to the fact that some employees write into the HR help desk with legal questions or finance questions that Sky is just not capable of handling. So I actually really feel like the accuracy rate is much closer to 100%. So our learnings in this journey, you have to be, I think, very, very clear about what goals you're trying to achieve out front. I think for us, being very, very specific and narrow in what we wanted to achieve ultimately helped us stay focused and really drive to success. I think for us, an organization as big and sometimes heavy, organizations are kind of heavy in how they move, partnering with a startup, which did take some convincing, I will not lie. It was quite a leap of faith. But working with the team at Emma, I really think allowed us to be much more agile and much more innovative than we would have been able to be otherwise. They had a deep amount of expertise that even though our very smart technical teams maybe superficially had, they were really able to work with us closely, use their expertise, and again, sit with us at the table every step through this journey. And I think most importantly, change management in the deployment of, I think, AI within your workplace is not something that is just about the launch. What I have realized is it's something that is a constant and continual focus point that needs to be really carefully managed. This is actually not a technology challenge. I think deploying these things successfully is a people challenge. And it is one that I think needs constant care and lots of love along the way. But ultimately, I think it can lead to very successful experience. And so from here, for us, we took that one small place and we're launching off into all the other use cases you saw identified previously. So with that, I will hand this off to Hans.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Please. So, hopefully you enjoyed that story. What I love about that story is that Amee is not the head of IT. She's not the CTO. She's a business leader. And she had real business problems that needed specialized solutions. And yet she was willing to take the leap, go with a startup like Emma, and she saw the positive results she wanted. And what I take away from that is that innovation should be happening in all of your functions, not just in IT. This isn't just a digital thing. It should be across marketing, sales, supply chain, finance, all those things. I want to close this out with three key messages. The first one, innovation is not optional. It's existential. When companies are in the discovery phase, you hear terms like fear, complexity, nervousness. But what you can see is when companies like Hitachi and Emma pull it together and they solve the puzzle, they get to the other side. And then you start hearing terms like transformative and game-changing. And if you're not doing this, I promise you your competitor is going to. So it's time to get started. The second message, the next era of enterprise AI must have measurable impact. If next year on this stage, only 8% of people are keeping their hand up, something is wrong. Because too much money has gone into this to not see enterprise value come out on the other side. And that brings me to the third point. The new partnership model is here. You have enterprises that are willing to take that step. You have Microsoft as the technology and the platform underneath it, and you have startups who are enterprise ready. And that's the unlock for you to truly realize that business value. So I want to make one last comment, which is that Microsoft is here not as a technology provider, but in addition to that, we're here to curate the ecosystem, and we're here to make sure that you get the right partners, that you find the Emmas out there in that complex chart. So we are here nurturing that ecosystem to make sure that you too see the same results that Hitachi did too. If you like this story, if you want to have your own story like this, I'm going to direct you to that left QR code. Scanning that QR code will get you access to the 18 Pegasus startups who were kind enough to lend us their time. They are here at Ignite. And if you want to learn more about some of these companies and you want to meet them one-on-one, we will get you connected ASAP. On the right-hand side, that QR code is what we call the Pegasus customer community. So if you want to stay abreast of all of the companies that are going into our Pegasus portfolio, you want to hear about the new case studies that are coming out, you want to hear about the new capabilities that we're seeing, as we navigate that list of hundreds of thousands of startups, please join that customer community. We promise we won't spam you. We will send you stuff that you are excited to see. So that's pretty much it for us. I'm going to wrap the session. Thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to helping you all make that leap from pilot to production.